Hey guys, and welcome back. As you know, I've traveled up to visit Joey, and I thought that I would take the opportunity while I was here visiting the gallery to really ask him about the nuts and bolts and reality versus expectation on the entire process, as well as sort of the ups and downs that have come along, not only with his incredible channel growth, but the big responsibility that comes along with operating such a vast range of species. So I thought long and hard, and I thought the first question that I would ask would be reality versus expectation.
Right.
When you were planning this, I know that you had ideas for all these different biotopes and all these different things that you wanted to do. Do you think that you made this space as big as you should have or could have? And what are some of the obstacles that you have encountered throughout the process of deciding what to do?
It's an interesting question because I grew my channel and what I've done from the basement of my house. I've only had a few aquariums, so one of the things that I don't talk about and I never talked about before was I'm on a schedule. I'm a YouTuber and I have to have videos out at a certain time, certain day. So at times I felt rushed. I felt like I was rushing scapes, I was rushing selection, etc., etc. And I know a lot of viewers will say, take your time, just don't worry about it, but that's not the way YouTube works.
No.
I take a week off and everything I've done for the past 8 years, 10 years is, gone down the tubes. I've taken a week off of videos before. It took me like 2 months to recover. But, one of the things I wasn't ready for was maintenance. Taking care of just 2-3 tanks, a few hundred gallons, to going to taking care of 4,000 gallons was a massive transition. As for the scapes, the biggest challenge was making sure that everything looked different. From the lighting to the scaping supplies, etc. And I was so limited with scaping supplies. I only have 2 species of wood out here. It's a Malaysian wood, which is in the 2000, and the rest is all
Manzanita.
Manzanita, yeah. But the beautiful thing about Manzanita is it comes in so many different variations that you can make it look different. Reality versus expectation, nothing is ever going to be what you expected it to be. For example, you could go out and buy a new aquarium today, it looks huge, it's your dream tank, 3 weeks later, meh, I want bigger. No, that's always my problem. Should have went bigger with this, should have wrapped the whole building with these tanks, should have went 20 feet out more. I mean, everything I should have, could have, would have did, but at the time, I was just chasing a dream and trying to make it come true, and I think I'm satisfied, I'm happy, but of course, if anybody knows my channel, that's not going to last for long.
I know, and I was just thinking about that. Do you think that this project was dictated by some of the needs of your sponsors at all, as in what the uniformity of the aquariums or anything like that, or was that completely your concept from the start?
Everything was my decision. The best part about my sponsors was that I have 2 that helped out the most in the gallery. Actually 3. Aqua Decor with their amazing backgrounds. They didn't want anything from me. They're just like, they asked if they could give me some backgrounds, and I looked at their work. I was like, yeah. I mean, I've built my own backgrounds before, but I've said it a million times. I can create it, but I'm not a craftsman. I can't do what they're doing. Second thing, Ecotech. I need lights and pumps and that sort of thing. Of course, I could have built them, but I'm on a timeline once again. I can't sit there and build light after light after light after light, and I wanted their technology. What they want out of me? Nothing. They said, we don't want commercials, we don't want anything, just create what you're doing, and that's good enough, so it's awesome. One of the things when I choose a sponsor, and I choose them, is I've got to like them as a company, I've got to like what they're doing for the hobby, and they've got to be in line with my beliefs. Custom aquariums, they asked a while ago, they said like, hey, can we get one of our aquariums in your gallery? And I was like, well, I don't really need an aquarium in my gallery. I want things to be uniform. I want them to look good. I want everything to look the same type of thing. And having one random tank, I appreciate it, just not going to fit into the plans. However, I was going to build all 10 120-gallon tanks. Each tank would have cost me about $500 to build, maybe take me 4 days. 10 of them take me about 40 days of non-stop building. I'm not a manufacturing facility. I can only build 1 tank at a time. I said, hey, why don't you just give me the 10 tanks? They're going to cost me $500 to build or buy either way. You're going to save me almost 2 months of work. And they're like, yeah, why don't we throw it on our racks as well? And it just kind of evolved from there. I was like, yeah, let's do that. And then, yeah, it was just saving me so much time. And the end result is not, this facility is not about how many projects can Joey build? I'm already proven. I got over 300 do-it-yourself projects. I got nothing to prove. It's not an ego thing for me. It's about the end result, showcasing what is possible in the hobby and inspiring and educating others. And to get to that end goal, I had help from Custom Aquariums, Ecotech, as well as Aqua Decor. There's been other help, but of course the biggest help came from my subscribers.
I was just going to bring them up
Yeah.
because I know that all of this was built through the love and generosity of your subscribers, and it was an absolutely mind-blowing
gotta get off the
display, absolutely mind-blowing display of support. And while you have that love and huge following from your subscribers, there's been a surprising amount of jealousy and nastiness that's gone along that I really personally can't understand.
Well, I can. I've been doing this for so long, 10 years, and I made videos for 8 years. I never asked for a single help, never asked for anything, ever once. And the 1 minute I do need help, these people turn on me. And it wasn't a lot, but these were people that were emotionally involved. They were disappointed. They didn't want to see this happen. But at the same time, a lot of the times when you see this online negativity, it's more of a reflection of themselves. Like, I raised $90,000 in 48 hours. That would piss me off too if I seen somebody do it. I was like, man, I want to do that, and it's for aquariums, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, let me point this out. I made just as much money from my basement in my house with less aquariums, less stress. In fact, I probably made more money doing it. This is a massive financial obligation. It's going to cost me a couple grand a month to run this in terms of power, maintenance, supplies, food, etc. And of course, 10 times as much of my personal time. But why I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to do this. To have a dedicated building, but being up in here in Canada, I face a lot of challenges, weather specifically. I need to, if I'm going to have a building, it's got to be like a house. I need ventilation, I need heating, I need massive insulation, 8-inch thick walls filled with insulation. And YouTube for me never paid much until late last year when I started making real money. And I was
Well,
like,
it's
oh
important
wow.
to mention that whole adpocalypse thing too. When you
we'll get to that. It's a timeline of events.
Yeah.
I mean, I started making real money on YouTube. 8 years of making videos, and 9 years of making videos almost. And I was like, wow, this is really something I can do. And instead of pocketing the money, I was like, let me further my reach and hobby, and give myself a bigger platform to do education and inspiration. And I thought, what better way than to build a building and fill it with aquariums. I invested $60,000 of my own money, and then the adpocalypse happened, and I didn't say anything for like 2 or 3 months until my bank account was dry, and I was facing bankruptcy. I've lost cars over my channel, repossessions. I've been evicted out of my house a couple times. My family left me over my channel a few years ago. I've done a lot of sacrifice for this hobby. I never talk about that because I just want to talk about the fish, but you don't get to where I've gotten without a massive amount of sacrifice. I'm not that talented. With that said, my viewers were like, Joey, let us help us. Let me help you. Let me help you. Let us help you. Let us help you. So I made 2 videos. One, giving an update on the gallery. It's like, I tried to make it as long as I could, 20 minutes long. And at the very end, I was like, and I need some help now. I'll accept your help. And then one video didn't have it in. I uploaded the one asking for help. I almost threw up. Because I was like, what if nobody helps me? What if this destroys my image? Or at the end of the day, I just had to swallow my pride and ask. And you guys came through tenfold. Within 48 hours, you'd raised $90,000. It's never been seen in the hobby ever, period. Nobody's ever raised that amount of money in that short a period of time for anything in our industry ever.
And I think what was my favorite part about it was that you could have gone a lot of different routes. You could have, tried to sell things. You could have done something like Patreon where people had to pay a subscription to learn about what you were doing. But instead you capitalized on a way to make it all available to everybody who's interested for free, whether they could donate or not. And I think that's what resonated so much with your subscribers, fans, and online community.
To me, at the end of the day, it showed how important this gallery is to you guys, and how much you guys believe in me. I couldn't even go online for a straight week. I was overwhelmed with emotion. And again, at times I sometimes regret it just because of a pride thing type of deal. But at the end of the day, I couldn't be more proud to be able to tell that story and to say that, we got so far and we dropped off, but you guys caught me.
Right.
And
I just got
you know,
quite goosebumps.
so a few people don't like me. I don't care.
Right.
Watch, I haven't stopped making videos. I'm even more excited in my videos. And the ironic part about the people that didn't like what I did, and this is how much my subscribers care. Every time they would get mad and they'd post about it, and I mean, we're talking a handful of people, like 50 to 100 people. That's a lot of people that don't like you all at once, but 5,000, over 5,000 donated in 48 hours, and thousands more were upset they couldn't help. But every time they would make a post or anything on Facebook, comments, etc., about how much they hate what I'm doing, my arowana jumped. My subscribers would get pissed off and then donate and donate and donate. So every time these people didn't like me, I gotta at least thank you for that. You gave me so much more attention than I would have gotten on my own. I appreciate you guys as well. Again, I'm just happy. I'm just happy. I'm just happy.
And I can't tell you guys how cool this is. You know, it's so different than like my basement fish room. It's so quiet and comfortable and peaceful. And I really love how the backgrounds have worked. And I was really, really skeptical of those. And I think some of your fans were skeptical as well of you using all these manufactured things. And as you mentioned earlier, and as you talk about all the time, it comes down to practicality, and the root of your DIY stuff has always been you have to build what you can't get locally.
Yeah,
and I think it's important to remember that if you can get it, a better use of your time is to invest into the aquariums and the fish than necessarily making every little thing.
Yeah.
But I did have a couple of questions for you. One of the things that I thought was really, really neat in that in the gallery is all the controls of the lights.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself changing any of those, or do you see you continuing along with the same lighting systems, or are there any of the projects that were done in the gallery that you think you're going to redo later?
The thing with the lights is that I'm still playing with them. I like to tinker. Outside of the aquarium hobby, I also like electronics and gadgets, like a lot of guys do, and even women. So I'm still playing around with them a lot. I think it'll get to the point where I get them exactly how I want them. You know, I just won't touch them again. Already programmed, all the lighting, dimming, and everything comes on automatically. And no, I think it'll stay the same. You know, minor changes in stopping and scaping and things like that will change over time. But ultimately, the whole point of out here was not to be a fish room. I didn't want the noise. I didn't want, you know, wires and cords everywhere and airline tubing. I wanted the focus to be on the aquariums, and I wanted this to be a comfortable environment that you could actually enjoy, like when you walk into a real gallery, and that's why I called it an aquarium gallery. I don't believe these are works of art, but they are rather displays of the hobby.
And I think you've been absolutely successful with that. And I just keep finding myself, I mean, even as I'm interviewing you now, my eye keeps getting caught by different displays of behavior, and it's been super, super successful. So one of the things I wanted you to tell my viewers, I know your viewers hear it all the time, and I'm sure there's tons and tons of overlap, is how do you sort of pick your battles when you choose your projects? Like, how do you determine which things are most important for you to build?
Okay, so at one point I was creating a catalog of videos. I had no order of what projects were going to get done. I just knew I had to do you know, hundreds of things I wanted to build. But eventually they got repetitive to the point where people were complaining in my comment section like, oh great, he's building another aquarium, oh another filter. So after building 50 filters, you know, thousands of gallons of aquariums, etc., things just got repetitive. So nowadays I build it when I need it. This, the 375, the stand, the filtration system, etc. If I need it and I can't buy it, or if I want something specific, I'll build it. But it's got to make sense as well. Sometimes I don't save money. To build this cost me $10,000.
That's a lot of money.
That doesn't include plumbing and filtration. You know, so, but I can't buy an aquarium for less than that. And I can't buy you know, a 2,000 gallon aquarium and get it in this building without first, of course, building the building around the entire gallery. And based on timelines and permits and so much, I had to juggle so much at once. The building had to go up first in order to be inspected and whatnot. So just a matter of events, and I always wanted a 4-foot tall tank open top, no braces, so I can view it from the top. Heck, I can get in if I want, and I have.
He still has to do it in his mermaid outfit, though.
Yeah, that thing's too tight, too revealing. But yeah, I mean, moving forward, there's always going to be things that I need to do, but at the end of the day, do-it-yourself is always going to be something that somebody will interpret for themselves what they think it means. If you are setting up your aquarium and you are doing your water changes, I don't know who else is doing it but yourself. So do-it-yourself could be as little as taking care of your aquarium, or maybe you modified something. I've done tons of modifications, but ultimately, again, this wasn't a showcase of how many things Joey can build. I'm already proven in that manner. There's no
lack of proof.
There's not even a database of other projects completed by one person in this amount. I mean, I'm proud of my body of work, but I also want to expand.
To grow and evolve,
Yeah.
and to continue to get fulfillment.
I'm
from
not the
what
same
you're doing.
person I was yesterday. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. You guys have watched me growing up on camera.
Well, I was just going to say that. It's been really interesting, even, just over the past 2 or 3 years, to watch like your comfort levels and your personality show through in your videos more and more. They used to be very much nuts and bolts, and now
It was very mechanical. It was very robotic. It's an instructional video. It's not about me. I'm way more happier now than I ever was before, and to be honest with you, I don't mind doing the projects anymore, but they can be depressing for me, because it's like, I'm not doing this because I want to, I'm doing this because I don't have a video on it yet. I spent 8 years building that database of projects, and I'm very proud of it. I'm never going to stop. Do it yourself. I still do it here and there. I'm just not going back to one a week. A video that takes 20 to 40 hours to complete.
I cannot imagine the amount of production and editing time that goes into each of those videos.
Now I do 3 videos a week, and every video I can barely contain myself. I'm just so excited, and my motto these days is, if I'm not excited about it, I'm not going to do it.
And I think that passion is what really shows through on your channel. So I don't think it's going to be likely that very many of us will be able to ever emulate anything like this. But I was wondering if you had some words of wisdom in the planning phases, or like key things that people should really consider when they're adding a lot of aquariums. I know many of us are afflicted with multiple tank syndrome. Could you talk a little bit, if you feel like it, about humidity control and temperature control?
Treat your room like an aquarium. You need heating, you need circulation, and you need filtration. So I have a heat pump heating the room. I'm not heating the aquariums, I'm heating the room. Far more cost effective that way. Second thing I do is I filter the room with a powerful HRV, which is heat recovery ventilator. So what it's doing is it's sucking out all this stale air, trapping the heat from the air in a core, and then pumping in fresh air through that core and heating the air back up. I lose about 30% of my heat, but that is going to filter out, so it doesn't smell bad in here, and filters out a lot of the humidity. So does the heat pump. But of course, you'll also need circulation. So I have massive fans in here circulating the hot air, so there's no hot spots. We have a uniform feeling in here. Now this room in here runs much warmer than the rest, and that was the point. I want this to be contained as opposed to the rest of the building, where that's, if you need a breather, because it does get quite warm in here. It's not too humid, but you definitely, I'm usually half naked.
It's the same in my fish room. I keep it quite warm down there, and when the camera's not on, the outfit is very different than when I have that on. So I know that you say that every single tank is your favorite, and I really relate to this, because every time I do a new species spotlight or a focus on a fish, I fall in love with them all over again. If you had one tank you had to get rid of and redo, which one do you think it would be? But from fish choice, mainly.
Oh, well, the Asian tank was never supposed to be these fish. I impulse bought those fish, and they happened to be from Asia. So I just did that, but originally it was not going to be these fish. I probably redo them, and I would eventually will. A lot of these fish aren't going to be in there for life, but this is kind of like my tank where I've got some fish that happen to be from Asia, so let's toss them in there. I'm going to circle back to it eventually.
So since we were so pressed for time, and because I'm a novice compared to the king, my camera stopped recording and we lost a little bit of the footage. But I just wanted to ask you guys, I'm sure Joey and I, we're going to be together several times in the future. So if there's any specific questions that you guys have or things that you would like to ask him in the future, let me know and I will save a list and we'll revisit this topic and talk about a lot more things. I mean, as this gallery continues to grow and evolve, I'm sure lots more interesting things will crop up for us to discuss. But I just wanted to take a minute to thank you personally and for your fans for the constant inspiration and support that you give, as well as allowing us into the difficult parts of fish keeping too. I think it can be very isolating when we lose fish or struggle within the hobby, and there's a lot of ups and downs, and you've really shared with us your triumphs as well as some really heavy losses.
Yeah, of course. You know, it's always been my pleasure to share that aspect of the hobby, and you know, moving forward, and as of the last year and a half, I've decided to start making videos that I'm really excited to talk about and not exclude anything, but you know, indirectly put my hobby under a microscope and share the entire story as opposed to polished videos and you know, that snapshot of perfect timing. I wanted to use my influence and you know, the people that look up to me to understand that we all are constantly learning. There's no such thing as an expert in the hobby. You could be an expert at a few little things, but there's no such thing as an expert at the aquarium hobby. We're all students, so keep that in mind.
And I think that's my favorite part of this hobby, and what keeps me so invested and energized about it is that I still learn new things every day.
Absolutely. Gotta have an open mind. A lot of times you gotta get out of our own ways. Drop the ego at the door type of thing, swallow your pride, and even I struggle with that at times. I am the king after all. But at the end of the day, I turn the camera on and I talk about whatever I'm most excited about, and I hope that resonates with my viewers and gets them excited with it as well.
Well, I think that the passion shines through, and you can see all across YouTube your influence and inspiration, so thank you.
My pleasure.